Last time I checked, and it was a long time ago, 80% of the popular vote had been counted. The polls are in. Czechoslovakians have run away. Get it? It's a joke. Anyway. And Donald Trump had gotten the Electoral College vote completed, and Hillary would have to get like 1 million popular votes in order to win at this point. So even though 80% of the polls are in and there's 20% left, I really don't think that's going to happen, so that's fine. The next thing is, I found out that Democrats conceded the election. I'd like to point out that I find it highly offensive, very triggering, that the Trumpers talked about never give up and we're never going to concede, and the Democrats didn't do the same thing. Why not just make it drag out? You know, screw this whole dignity thing. Let's all be Trumpers, super troopers. Anyway, we're a big country. We can get through this. Now let's get through the bad job for the end of the day. There's a lot of angry drunk people in Portland. Anyway, there's no rioting, just I can't understand what they're saying. It's actually much better that way. Assertions and desertions. Here we go. If the sun really is 93 million miles away, light rays should be parallel. But they're not. You can see it, anybody can see it. They are hiding something, and it seems WAPTEK's goal is to keep us from seeing the truth. Rigged elections. I'm reading a bunch of things at once. I'm just going to string them together because it's kind of funny reading them this way. Sorry. Only fools and idiots want proof. Proof and more proof. Don't be an idiot. Or a fool, apparently. Either believe in the information or you don't. If you don't believe, you simply walk away. Those who demand proof demonstrate no ability to discern it. It's impossible to fill your laundry list, somebody did grocery list, laundry list, called burden of proof. The one that calls it a fake needs to prove that it's a fake by showing evidence, not withholding it unless he is lying about the claim. Any real investigator takes all information unverified, sets it aside to be later retrieved for future placement in a puzzle called the big picture. The seeker of truth has the burden of finding facts, evidence, and truth. Those who seek truth... okay, it's a drinking game. Every time I say truth, or anybody does, take a shot. Now, here we go. Those who seek truth find it. Those who love the lies, I love the assertions, stay misinformed and walk around blind to facts, even when they are hidden in plain sight. Okay, I'm going to translate this loosely really quickly. This is 3 or 4 people's assertions and requests. So, people who like puzzles and don't like straight answers, who like to fight for, like to feel like they've achieved something by digging up something and going through, trial by fire to find something, we call those video gamers normally. If you like going through the same castle 60 times to get the princess knocked loose from the frickin' parapet and still losing her, that's fine. I got better things to do, Charlie. So anyway, here we go. The only way you would find deviation in angle of not having parallel light from a sun 93 million miles away on an 8,000 mile across, it's actually 7,000 something, but it's almost 8,000 mile across Earth. When the sun is 93 million miles away, that's a 10,000 to 1 ratio for the furthest points you could see the sun from. That angle would be incredibly tiny if you account for the shape of the Earth being round. A linear distance, you would get an angle that would be the equivalent to 1/10 of a millimeter at the end of a yardstick across. That's an incredibly tiny angle. And it isn't a tiny angle. It doesn't appear to be parallel because the Earth is round. The light is coming in parallel. The only reason someone would make this assertion is that you can over a 71 mile distance or so, you can get a deviation in the light angle of 1 degree and detect it. So every 100 miles you can get over a degree of deviation from perfectly aligned with the other light source. That's an example of someone ignoring the shape of the Earth on purpose. Yes, that one has been shot with a captive bolt stun gun like out of a movie somebody watched recently. Next, rigged elections. Oh, by the way, you're trying to stop us from seeing the truth. No, I'm trying to stop you from listening to people who lie to you over and over again because it makes you feel good about being able to go over to someone's channel like mine and accuse me of being a shill or something. I get this all the time, but this one was phrased about like this. This is like the 4th or 5th rendition of this. I dismantle these sentences to make them much more usable. Rigged elections. In the past, rigging an election through the electronic voting system was scary easy, but didn't actually happen. It was corrected for or dealt with or whatever a couple of times over, or it didn't matter because it was a landslide anyway. But there have been attempts by anonymous and groups, including groups like Volunteer to Help, as a crowdsourcing activity to stop foreign governments from interfering with the electronic voting machines. This year somebody did something intelligent. Early voting and lots of absentee ballots, because electrons don't affect the paper you send through the mail. It's really funny, but most people don't get that you can send a letter through the mail, and it's really pretty damn difficult to intercept it. If you learn from the U.S. Postal Service listing how to prevent mail fraud, that's all you have to look up. It's delicious. People don't use the mail anymore. I don't. Unless I'm sending something insanely secure and I want to make sure it's physically impossible for anybody to intercept it, except the NSA and whatever alphabet soup is involved. Next set of assertions. Now this is a little soliloquy of like 5 or 6 comments, actually 3 of them really. They were duplicating all over the place. Someone posted to aggravate people. He's trolling. I'm going to read it, not verbatim, but I'm going to read it almost poetically. Only fools and idiots want proof, and more proof. Don't be an idiot or a fool. Either believe the information or don't. If you don't believe, walk away. Those who demand proof demonstrate no ability to discern truth. You should be able to judge for yourself. It's impossible to fill your grocery list, it's called a laundry list by the way, called burden of proof. Really. I can prove gravity right now if you want. Let's just go on to the next one. The one that calls it a fake needs to prove it's a fake by showing evidence, not withhold it, unless he's lying about the claim. So the person who's being accused of being a faker, or proven to be a faker, doesn't have to back anything up, ever. You're supposed to just figure it out. Any real investigator takes all information, verified or unverified, sets it aside to be later retrieved for future placement in a puzzle, called the big picture. The seeker of truth has to... You collect all the keys when you're on level 7? Have you gone to the castle to find out there's no princess there? The seeker of truth has the burden of finding facts, evidence, and truth. You said truth right. Those who seek truth find it. Those who love the lies stay misinformed and walk around blind to facts, even if they are hidden in plain sight. The glint in the sand. So what you're saying is we're supposed to look for Easter eggs on level 7, then return to level 2, make sure we have all 3 of the keys, including the skull key, and once we've gone through this gauntlet, we will we'll bask in the loving wonder of having achieved truth. You know, you can put all that effort in actually reading a freaking book once in a while and learn something, or learn from people who did the research for you so you don't have to do it. Or if you want to, really be a grown-up and test what they found to see if it's correct. It's called peer review and reproducibility or duplicatability of test results. Here's a challenge for a lot of you guys who use guns. Make gunpowder according to instructions and see if you get consistent results, and learn why gunpowder isn't actually all that easy to make. No, I mean it. It's like making thermite. People always talk about thermite. You ask them, okay, what are the 2 ingredients? And they tell you, okay, what's the ratio? It's a trick question. You can use a bunch of ratios, but there's a preferred ratio. It's like 2 to 1 with one of them. Which one? Unless you know this off the top of your head, you have no business talking about thermite or explosives. And the thing is, I've made these things, and I don't remember them. But I made them. I've also made an explosively formed projectile out of a disc or a plate of copper and blown a hole in a hunk of cement because I wanted to see how it was done. And I did it under safe conditions with supervision. Most of you don't know about these things. Most of the people who talk about this stuff refuse to go look it up. at least. And if they do look it up, they look it up so they can say, oh, that person, he says he's an expert, but I'm going to contradict him, and that's my way of doing it, and you have to prove me wrong. No, nobody does. This contrarian form of anti-logic and anti-science is not worth the time of day or the breath I'm giving it now. But this, I'm going to leave this stack of steaming truth here for everyone to look at, hidden in plain sight. It's like somebody took a poetry book and vomited it. Anyway, other than that, I don't really have much to discuss. I had a longer video. This is way too long as it is, but I just wanted to point out I ran out of that gold mine. This stuff is gold. I also like to point out I gotta do a shout out to Logan Runa in Texas. Him sitting there aghast watching all of these politicos just crying in their beer over this night. I think we can get through this. Everybody needs to calm down. There are plenty of checks and balances to make sure that Trump won't do anything crazy, if any of you are worried about it. And I'd also like to point out that this has all been a big smokescreen, so you won't pay attention to local elections for state and legislature. I bet most of you don't even know who is your representative. That's where the power happens. The Republican Party doesn't care who gets elected president any more than the Democratic Party. They want you to care. How many people ran unopposed that are staying in place while our corrupt system keeps hurdy-gurdying off the cliff? Did any of you pay attention? I had a hard time paying attention too. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.